Welcome to another edition of City Talk Pittsburgh. I'm John McIntire, and meet the controller for the city of Pittsburgh, Michael M. Michael, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So the controller, I've always defined that, generally speaking, let me ask if you agree, as the watchdog, the guy who's trying to make sure that money is well spent and spent well.
I think that's right. I mean, I think our main function, our day-to-day function is watching all of city spending. Like, where's the money going? Is the city getting what it was supposed to get? So we have auditors and inspectors who are checking each purchase that the city does to make sure that the goods are the quality that we want, that meets the specs that required for the job, and then auditing the math and making sure we're getting the right price.
So do you just have to hire the right people? Do you do a lot of the work yourself?
We have
a
very good staff down there of auditors and accountants and clerical people, inspectors, who are basically doing that function. You know, that's our day-to-day function. That we're every invoice that comes into the city, you know, we do a pre-audit to make sure that we're getting what we got and that the math was done right, and then we cut a check.
Are some people in government ridiculous? They don't understand, like, you can't ask for this or you can't submit that. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? It's funny because sometimes we do get some invoices from departments that maybe not all the I's are dotted. So we have to go back and forth with the department sometimes. But we have a great working relationship here in the city with the departments, with the directors, and with the staffs, and it's usually a pretty smooth flow.
Now, you're an independently elected official, and that's good because I guess it would be ridiculous if you worked for the administration.
Well, it is because, you know, in addition to just doing that day-to-day function, we have the responsibility of going into each of the departments and basically assessing how well they're doing. And it would be hard to do that if you weren't independent of the mayor's office and of the government structure. So we're able to do that, and I think sometimes people get upset with some of the criticism that we lodge, but it's our job, you know. And the truth is, a lot of what we see, the city does a pretty good job at. So we try to highlight some of the positive things.
What do they do a good job at? You feel free to mention what they don't as well.
But I mean, you know, when we go into the department, you know, typically we will have, you know, 12 or 15 findings in an audit, but we're looking at hundreds of things, you know. So you know, we can see that the city, we know they do a very good job at emergency medical services in the city. You know, we're I think nationally known for what we do. But when we go in and we start looking at response times, obviously we want response times to be better, and than they are. But again, so we see a lot of good and a lot of things that could be improved, and we try to make responsible recommendations as to how the city can improve.
Have you got any off the top of your head that are responsible recommendations about maybe what we could do better?
I think if you look at any of the audits that we've done, well, there are some. We're working on an audit right now, what hasn't been released yet, with respect to contracting and how we buy goods and services. And one of the things we're very concerned about is this ongoing trend of buying, purchasing items with what they call a piggyback contract, meaning a contract that some other government has approved. What we found is that when we use those contracts, we're often not getting best price because we're not doing a competitive process locally to see if we could get better price than that piggyback contract.
Do people do that because it's faster?
Exactly.
But in the end, it might be less efficient.
That's right. They do it because it's easier and it is faster. So, and in some cases, even when you pay more, maybe it's worthwhile doing if you can cut some red tape out of the system. But you just have to be careful about how you do that. And so when people can see that opportunity that they can go ahead and buy a service or a good without a competitive process, a lot of times it's attractive.
Did you have a background that made you wanted to be the controller of the city of Pittsburgh someday?
I'm a lawyer, and you know, I have been involved in public policy my entire career. I went to the Heinz School at Carnegie Mellon and got my master's degree in public management. And so I've always wanted to be at the table where we're making decisions about the region. And so I've found my way into this position with that goal.
Sounds like you really like this job.
I do like
enjoying
the job.
it.
I enjoy the job. I enjoy the give and take, particularly with the department directors and with city council and with the mayor's office. Even when it's cantankerous, it can be fun.
And they probably see that you're trying to do the right thing.
I hope so.
I'm going to go out on a limb.
I hope so. I hope people
even
see
if they
that.
disagree with you.
Exactly. I mean, and they do. I mean, you know, we've had issues here that lately that I've been out in front of that I don't agree with. We bought a building recently. Mm-hmm. I didn't agree with buying that building. You know, I thought we paid too much for it, frankly. But we bought the building anyway, despite my my hesitation and my opposition to it.
Well, but you never know. Maybe the next building they'll make a better buy because you pointed out that in your opinion this building was not good.
Well, the truth is, what I found is that when you're in a public trust and you're working with public dollars, the best thing you can have is a process. And when we operate without process, that's when we get into trouble. And that was my concern about this building. At the end of the day, we don't know whether it was the right price or not, because we really didn't have the process behind the purchase.
I find sometimes that people think when it comes to government workers, there's some stereotype of a nameless, faceless bureaucrat not accomplishing much. But that usually actually isn't the case. At least that's what I've found during these interviews.
Well, I can tell you that when I came into the controller's office, which is now 10 years ago, I had that concern. I had that concern about that office because I wasn't sure what I was getting into, and we found pretty quickly that there are some very skilled practitioners in that office, from the audit staff and the way they think about audits, the way they think about measuring performance on the performance audit side, the work that they do, our accounting staff that puts out the annual financial report every year and do a great job at it. There was some excellent staff there. Then you have to supplement that with training as well. And so we take, we try to train people, we try to get quality staff. But interestingly, the staff that was here was pretty good.
And you mentioned the, I'll call it a pamphlet that you put out once a year explaining in layman's terms what's going on with the money in the city. I happened to come across a copy of that recently, and I thought it was excellent in terms of clarity and just giving you an idea of where the money's going.
Yeah, what we try to do is give residents and those interested a snapshot of where Pittsburgh is at a moment in time. This is where we are on December 31st of 2017, and we do that every year, and we've gotten phenomenal response on that report. We get to distribute that pretty widely, and it's online. It's available online on our website in the controller's office. So and people really do wait for it to come out. Once people get it, they're really excited to see it because it really does help explain where we are and what the challenges that we have, as well as a lot of the things that we're doing pretty well.
So you might be doing this job for a few, God willing, the quick don't rise, and if you won for re-election and win, you might be doing this job for a while.
I enjoy the work. I enjoy the people we work with, even when they're a challenge. I enjoy working with the public, and some of the best ideas that we come up with come from the public who say, hey, why don't you look at this, or why don't you take a look at that? We had someone call me and said, I was at Schenley Park at the ice rink, and I was concerned with the way that they were handling the cash registering system out there and everything. And sure enough, we went out and looked, and there was a problem. There was a problem. I mean, it wasn't a theft or anything, but it was something that needed to be addressed and needed to be corrected. And so, when we have those kind of eyes out there helping us along, find things that we should be looking at, that's fun to do.
So you solicit public feedback. Anybody's got any ideas, they can call your office.
We've tried to be as transparent an office as we can, and so we reach out in a number of ways. The PAFR just being one of them. The report,
that's the pamphlet with
the pamphlet, the annual report that we do on finance. But we have an app now that people can contact us, take pictures of stuff, and show us things that we can go out and respond to. We have Fiscal Focus Pittsburgh, which is part of our website, which is basically a visualization of the city's budget and spending, so people can go on and drill down into how much we're spending on anything that we do. And a lot of people are using that. We have Open Book Pittsburgh, which is the look at our contractual relationships and our elected officials' contributions, political contributions, and sometimes people who contribute actually get contracts. And we're not making a judgment about that, but we think people should know.
That's a problem, isn't it? Because everybody's going to contribute.
Yeah.
Just because they're afraid that's how it works.
Yeah, right.
But then you can't tell whether that's the way it works or not. Because everybody gave.
Again, it gets back to the other point, process. A good, fair, competitive process really cleans up a lot of those kind of concerns.
And finally, do people call you Mr. Controller? How do you address the controller?
You know what? People do call me. Most people just call me Michael.
Okay.
But people do call me Mr. Controller sometimes. I guess that is. I mean, I
That's
have
the
no
proper,
problem with it. I guess
okay.
it's proper. Yeah. But Michael is fine.
Are you Mr. Controller at home or just?
No, I'm never in control at home.
That's usually the way, I find.
Yeah.
Mike Lamb, thanks so much for doing the program.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sure appreciate it.
Thanks.
That's City Talk. We will see you next time.